So one thing I forgot to mention with last night's episode was, or yesterday's episode, was that the night before we had a couple mates come round. We hadn't seen in ages, and we're listening to a podcast called Bema, which is spelt Bema. And it kind of just goes through it, unpacks the Old Testament. It's really cool, really really cool. Obviously, there's a big discrepancy between like Hebrew thinking and Western thinking, and I feel like there's so much ancient text that gets lost in translation. And this guy, he's a rabbi, goes through and just kind of unpacks the ancient literature. So anyway, Beck's got this really really nice wine from a girls' trip she did with her sisters a little while back. We thought we'd open it up. A couple bottles of Pinot Grigio later, and being pretty disciplined with. Oh no, actually, I was fasting. That's right. Yeah, I was. That was the last day of my fast. That's right. So at the start of every month, I just do a 3 day water fast, and yeah, I forgot about that. So yes, I was fasting, and it was the last day of my fast. So I woke up on this would have been Friday morning. Yeah, Friday morning, with a pretty gnarly headache, which is hilarious. So I think we went through about a bottle and a half, and beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So anyway, I went to the gym, and there was a lot of like intense cardio, like ski ergs and all that sort of stuff involved. And anyway, so I did a little chunder, kind of took my time and everything else, and then I walked outside at the end of the session, and I could feel it starting to come up, and I was like, oh no. And I was like, I just have to get to my car. So I made it across the road because I'd parked on the town hall side. Made it across the road, grabbed my tray, grabbed the tray of my ute, and I just power chucked all over the floor on the road. I mean, and because I was still fasting at this point, so I'd spent, this is the third morning in a row that I had trained while fasting, so I've made better decisions in my time, but it's fine. Chundered, massive bop, and there was kind of nothing to it. It was all like bile and that sort of thing, really. Anyway, that did me good. That got me a ripper. So feeling a bit delirious and that, and yeah, it took a little while to come good. So I jumped in the car, and yeah, that doesn't sound good. I was delirious in the car. Drove back to my place for to swap back out, and I was just sat on the couch and just waited and collected. I was just like, I need to eat food. So so I had a banana. So unfortunately, I was hoping to make it through to that night, but I just couldn't. So I was like, I need something because I've got shit I need to get done. So got halfway through a banana and then couldn't finish that, and then can't remember what it was. It was like a muesli bar or something like that. Just something to kind of to get in, and ate the tiniest little bit, and then I had a Powerade, and yeah, and just all of that. Anyway, Beck shot off to the gym. I had a shower for quite some time, and then Sterling started to stir. So I got him out of bed and jumped in bed with him and just kind of hung out. And it kind of butchered my morning, I'll be honest. It kind of like really buggered the momentum. And yeah, and anyway, so Beck got home and I started working on the last parts of the workshop because we were presenting it that night. And yeah, just made the changes on the recommendation of Sue as well. So removed the proposed profit share structure that I was talking about implementing with the team, and yeah, and just kind of simplified it a little bit, and just said, hey guys, like there's a lot of work that I need to do, and don't want to make a promise and then not be able to deliver it. So I need time. But we went through with everything else. Here's the structure that we're looking at running with, and yeah, so just kind of changed that up and just made sure that everything kind of followed through, and yeah, so anyway, so I worked on that literally all day. Beck was exhausted as well. So third day in training, and it's a shock to the system, and admittedly, it is amazing how quickly the body adapts. It is extraordinary. So yeah, anyway, so Beck was knackered, so I went and picked up Lex from school, and I'm always thinking about like the opportunities to be able to like teach them what. Ah, yeah, that's right. I was looking at my notes and I was like, that's odd. But I remember the context now. teaching her how to think and teaching her how to be critical, and jumped in the car, and she said to me, she was like, "Oh, Dad, what was it that she was saying? Oh, Dad, I can't remember exactly how she started it, but nonetheless, there was this kid who told her, the boss of you is whoever's the oldest at the time around you." And I said to her, I was like, interesting. And she was like, yeah, and she knew your name and she knew Mum's name, and I'm not going to mention who it was, obviously, but nonetheless. And so it is a kid that I am familiar with, and she's very opinionated, and that's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But she said, she's like, and she said I had to listen to what she said, or she'll go tell Mr. Ferguson, who's the principal. And I said, oh, interesting. I was like, what do you think, Lexi? And she said, well, no. I was like, right. Why? And she said, well, because I'm the boss of me. I was like, correct. You are the boss of you. And she was like, but then why did she say that? And I was like, well, I actually don't think that she's right. I agree with you. I think that you are the boss of you. She's like, but what if she went and told Mr. Ferguson? I was like, well, then you can tell Mr. Ferguson that you're the boss of you. Mr. Ferguson is not the boss of you. And you can ask him why he wants you to do something. And if the answer doesn't make sense, you don't actually have to do it. And he was like, and then she goes, oh, but like, what if I get in trouble? I was just like, well, then I will find out about it. And I will also say to you, yes, I agree. If it doesn't make sense, then you don't have to do it. And so it's a bit controversial, I'm conscious of this, to tell that to a 6-year-old, right? But I also don't agree that my 6-year-old has to listen to everyone. I absolutely do not. And this is something that has given me no end of grief growing up, because I go, well, I want to understand why. Like, why are you telling me that I have to do that? Because I can't see the logic in it. Or because I'm your boss. I'm sorry, not good enough. Like, and it's got me in so much shit. Like, in the end, you just go, hey, like, if you just want me to be compliant because you're going to sack me otherwise, sure, okay, no problems. If that's the game we're playing. But if you actually want me to be a productive part of your team, I have to actually understand what's going on. And I don't think that's exclusive to me. I think that most people, like, for the most part, I think that the education system does a great job of teaching people that that person over there can tell you what is the right or the wrong thing to do, and that it's the best thing you can be doing is listening and being obedient to that person. And I actually don't agree. So this is why I'm intentional about having these conversations with the kids early on. So I said to her, I was like, the most important question you can ask is why. If people can't give you a good reason why, then I actually don't think you should have to listen to them. And I know this might start a whole shitstorm, but I stand by this. And it doesn't mean that you are try to stir the pot, but it's the pursuit of understanding, not defiance. And so I said to her, I was like, the most important question you can ask. I was like, if that girl comes up to you and says, you have to listen to me. I was like, Lexi, you can ask her, well, why? Oh, because I'm the oldest. Why does that matter? Well, because of this. Why? Until you get a good answer and an answer that makes sense. Otherwise, she can go tell Mr. Ferguson, but you don't have to do what she says. She's not the boss of you. You are. And you get to make the decisions based on the information that people give you. That's how it works. And yeah, that's that. So that was a really, really cool conversation to have with her, and as well for her to understand, like, what, if they go tell the principal, that's totally fine. I will back you. Should probably clarify with her that I'm not going to back her if she's being defiant and arrogant and just trying to cause drama, but if she's trying to understand. And understand because it conflicts with something that she doesn't that she believes, that totally cool, like totally cool with that. So anyway, so I came home and kept working on the on this presentation and the workshop and stuff with the team, and not long after that, after picking up the kids, we headed out to set up for the night. So so the team meeting, this was really cool. So this is where we kind of presented the full the full. We flipped the lid on all the financials in our business. It was really, really cool. So, for the most part, I realized that there's too much content that I had there. And I definitely should have explained right at the very, very start that that we're doing this because we want to give our team part of the profit. And I think that, what I did do was I had it structured in a way that was like, well, let's dissect, why are we in business? And to me, business is a means to an end to money. Money is a means to an end to other things. And to be able to kind of parallel that and then go, okay, well, what do you actually want? And let's align with what you want with what we can get out of what we can make the business do so that you also get what you want. And that was my logic. And then go, okay, cool, great. Now we've established that profit share. I should have gone, hey guys, we're going to do a profit share. Get everyone bought in, get that attention straight away, and then kind of like structure it out from there. The other thing that the feedback from Beck, and I always love Beck being there when I present because she gives me such great feedback. She said, I should have explained right at the start that we're not sharing this information because anyone's job is in jeopardy, or not because the business is at risk, and nothing like that. But I should have explained right at the start that, the intention is because we want the business to be better. The business is always great. It is already great. It's already doing really well. But we want it to be better. And then on the back of it being better, we actually want the team to benefit from that as well. And I should have been a bit more explicit about that right at the very, very start. And unfortunately, because it did take too long. Obviously, there were a few people who were late, and we stopped to have dinner and all that sort of stuff. So we didn't get right to the very, very core. So what I was wanting to do was get to like, okay, like here's let's actually have a look at the the levers that we need to pull to be able to make, at a very high level, to be able to make the business successful, or more successful, let's say. And I know it's a very vague, generalized term. It's not very SWOT analysis-y, but it's fine. We're just going to, or smart, sorry. But we're just going to run with it, right? But when it comes to being able to look at a high level, be like, okay, well, here's our revenue, here's our cost of goods, here's our overheads, here's our labor cost, and here's our net position. So, and then like I actually showed them the year's P&L, and I was like, okay, like this isn't the only financial statement, but here's this cost. Here's how much we paid in freight to get stuff up from Perth. Here's how much we paid in FPOS fees. Here's how much we paid in like interest. Here's how much we paid in this and this and this. And they're all going, you're kidding me. I'm like, nah, like this is a thing, man. It's crazy. And for them to realize that, okay, like it's not just duckies and bunnies and, like we just continue to pay it out. Like there are a lot of costs involved. So, so it was a really cool exercise to do with the team. And for them to realize, like, one of the things we did was I explained to them, like, if there's repairs, things we need to buy that were not anticipated, or replacing cost of goods, right? Those three things can only come out of our net position. So if we've bought the goods to be able to make the products with, and then we have to throw those out, to replace that so we can make products again, it needs to come out of our net position. So then we took our net percentage, divided that by 10, which gives us a multiple of dollars we need to earn to be able to make $1 back to be able to replace. And so it was really cool looking at all these different things that we replace really often. Not replace really often. Wastage is something that we definitely need to be more top of mind on. And as a team, it's like, well, how do I show them the value of that without actually showing them the books? I kind of can't really see it. So that's where I was like, hey, the books are going to be a really valuable communication tool to be like, hey, like, this is something that affects you, not just me, not just the business, but you as well. Like, you want this outcome? I want you to have this outcome. Let's rise to the occasion here, and show them that it's okay. Like, if we buy we buy 10 litres of milk. I think it's like $19 or $18 a piece off the top of my head. It's been a little while since I've revisited it, which tells me I should probably have another look. So $18-$19 a piece. Okay, so that's the cost we've got. But how much in revenue do we need to get to be able to get the $20 back in net position to be able to refill the cost of goods? And that was really eye-opening. And I think as well, like, a lot of people when we, not a lot of people, but some of the people, they thought our revenue position was way less than it was, and others thought it was way higher than it was. So, to when we told them, like, this is our net position, they're like, oh wow, oh, that's really good. And we're like, yeah, it's great. Like, our net position, our revenue is really great. And then it was like, okay, well, how much do you think of that is net? Like, we've paid all our expenses and all that sort of stuff, and now we have profit left over that we then pay tax on, which is crazy. But, like, what about that? And they've gone, oh, well, some people reckon like 50%, others reckon like, and it's like we're running very, very, very skinny numbers at the moment because we're doing a lot of development and tipping some cash back into the business. And while it's coffee weather, we want to be doing that. So setting ourselves up so we're in a position where, because we've got the additional cash flow and the cash reserve coming in by way of our additional flow, we've got the money there to be able to spend on the investments. So that's why we're doing it now. But it does push our profit position incredibly low, so that we've got which will mean a lower taxable position. So so and then when we showed them that, they were shocked. We were like, yeah, and I explained to them, here's the flow of money. People pay us. We don't even get to look at 10%. If someone buys a coffee for, $10, let's just say, use a really extreme one, $1 of that goes straight to the government. We've paid more in GST than we have in tax this year. Than we've got in profit. And they're like, you're kidding. I was like, no, like it's intentional, because we're intentionally spending the things we need to spend now to get us in a position that we're going to be okay for, I guess, the economy that's coming up. I'm not feeling too hopeful about where it's headed, but also it's been a long time coming. So we're just getting our ducks in a row a little bit. And so sharing that with them has been really, really cool. And then we also the last thing we didn't get to do is go over our vision and our values as a team. And for the most part, like, I'm realizing that really good, effective leadership is really about buy-in. And I think you can look for people who have alignment to your vision. And I think that obviously that's a stupid thing to say. You can look for people who have alignment to your vision, but when you have a core team, there also needs to be a vision that they buy into. So the way I look at it is, I've got a vision for my life, and the business that I'm building and the family that I have and the skills that I learn and who I want to be are a part of that, right? And then the vision that propaganda has is it's complementary, but it's secondary, right? So I've got a vision for propaganda as a whole, an idea of where I want to take propaganda. But then I'm also looking at, okay, well, each store, like propaganda on Boulder Road, that's not really mine, in the sense of, sure, I own it and I'm the director and all this sort of stuff, but when it comes to how it's portrayed to the customers, how the quality of the product, the team cohesion, the communication, adherence to values, I'm not there. And one of the things that and this is kind of what started the whole journey toward open book. You have to excuse me, sorry. One of the things that started the whole journey toward open book was this whole thing of like, how do you lead an organization of people without, like, I get it for me, I get it for my relationship with Beck, I get it for my family, and I'm doing life with them every day. So it's easy for me to have the conversations like, interesting, what do you think about that, what she said? What do you think about this? Let's unpick that. And kind of like leading this, like, this growth and the development in certain areas, for sure, because I'm literally there. But when it comes to the leading an organization where I'm not shoulder to shoulder with everybody on the front line, like, what does that look like? And one of the things that I was taught was, people who do 70% of whatever you do. And I think that, okay, like, is that a genuine thing? And maybe, I don't know, some Stanford, management professor might say, yeah, it is. I don't know. And the thing is, like, I don't actually know. I don't have an opinion on that. That's just what I've heard, and it seems to be the case. But then I think, is that something that I think is like what we should settle for? And again, I don't know. I'm not convinced. Yeah, and maybe I will be later. Who knows? So anyway, so we wanted to kind of like revisit our values and as a team build the vision for Boulder Road and for the values that Boulder Road will be governed by. And then my rules to them is like, okay, great. Billy, I'm going to keep you guys accountable to your values and your vision. And these are the values and stuff we'll hire by, that we'll make our products by, that we'll communicate with people by, that we will, the whole lot. This is how we're going to do everything. And yeah. So anyway, we didn't get to do that, which I was a bit gutted by, but we did get to define a cadence and a time for everyone to be able to meet together. So every week we'll have a all hands meeting with our team, and yeah, and we need to, and that's where we'll kind of strategize and go, okay, well, are we on track for our targets? Are we how are we looking? Where do we drop the ball? Where are we doing well? Like. And and again, like revisiting values, how are we going in alignment to our values, so, and then obviously Carter and Odelia, who are managers, they then take that as well, and I catch up with them separately throughout the week. They take that and they implement that into the team, and they keep the team accountable on the day to day. I'm coming in keeping everyone accountable week to week, and the thing is, sorry, it's not isolated just to a weekly event. Obviously, I'm communicating with everyone during the week, and and I'm present, and I'm aware that there's a whole thing. The one thing everybody said around culture is you have to lead from the front. I understand that, and I'm not saying that this is going to replace leading from the front whatsoever, but being present and showing up and being there with the team is super, super valuable. So anyway, so it's good. There's a lot more to implement there, by way of the profit sharing structure and that whole strategy. But yeah, so it was exciting. It was really well received, and actually we did a bit of identifying, because one of the things was like, okay, guys, like, where does our money come from as a business? Obvious question. It can only come from customers. Okay, great. What do customers want from us? Really, really basically. And then we went through, we did this activity. We were like, what are the areas that we're really strong in? And everybody said, we work really well as a team. We create great atmosphere. Okay, great, awesome. Let's work on those. Let's keep amplifying our strengths. Where we suck at, and what I do is I got everyone to write it down for themselves, and we see what came up as a whole. Thing that came up was consistency and quality. I was like, you know what? I agree. And the feedback I get tells us that also. So I said, this was on Friday, and we've got a meeting on Tuesday with our team. And I'm saying, okay, well, this is it. This is what we're going to work on. Keep working on working together as a team and being really cohesive. Keep building an incredible relationship and atmosphere with the customers. Let's improve our quality. Let's improve our consistency. Let's work on those. Come Tuesday, we'll touch base again. We'll kind of strategize the next week, and I'm really excited. And I know a lot of the team, a lot of the feedback we got was that people were really excited for what's coming up. So, so that feels cool, and that was our team meeting, and so we're going to make it a weekly thing, and very exciting.